So once you've got your race down, I told you the next step was to pick what they call a life path, okay? And what it does, it's going to give you some backstory on your character. And this can give you additional bonuses and friends, or it can give you disadvantages and enemies. And what this does is really stir up your backstory of your character and talks about where your character came from, and the types of struggles it's gone through in your relationship with your family, your siblings, your best friends, maybe your enemies, and those type of things. And it's really neat how they had this set up. It's a nice little table here for you. First, you're going to roll a dice, and if you roll an odd or even, then you're going to go into separate places. So let's say we rolled odd, it tells us we're going to be rolling over here next time. If we roll even, we're going to go down to here, and so it's going to lead us to different paths. Okay, so if we roll even, it's going to send us down here. We'll roll again a d10, and if we roll a 1 through 3, it's going to give us a +1 to deceit. If we roll a 4 through 10, it's going to send us over here to the vassal origin, this gray column over here, where we're going to roll another d10. And let's say we roll a 5, and it tells us that our homeland is from Mag Turga, and we're going to get a +1 to endurance. So yeah, all of these have a +1 to something, depending on where you're from, like a crafting or courage or whatever. I like this because I don't have to really think hard about this part of, choosing things. I can roll the dice, and it's like, okay, well, that's what it is. So we've done our homeland. Now we're going to look at our next roll is going to be our family. If you roll even, your family is alive and together. Yay. If you roll odd, something horrible has happened to your family. And so you would write that down, and that'd be part of your story, right? And I think that's really cool. If your family's alive and together, it tells you to go to this one about your parents. Now you're going to roll even or odd again. If it's even, your parents are alive. If odd, your parents are dead. There's a lot of charts, but they're really quick. You're just going to roll and take what you get and move on to the next one. So next, you're going to figure out what your family fate is. Okay, so you figured out your, what region you're born in, what town you were born in, if your family's still alive, if your parents are still alive, and now you're going to figure out your family fate. And so depending on which region you came from, you're going to roll a d10, and it's going to tell you what's going on here. And these are super grim, you all, super grim. So like if you roll a 3, your family was executed for treason against the empire. You were the only one to escape this. And so all of them are horrible things, but it's kind of neat that they give you these horrible things that happen to your family, that to you and your family, that help you have a purpose in life and have this memory in life. And now if your family's still alive, you're going to move to this other page and do the same thing. And again, it's all bad stuff. This one is, you figure out what happened to your parents over the course of your life. It might be that the secret police took your parent or parents for questioning. The next week, their bodies were found hung in the streets of the city. Holy smokes, right? And it tells you can roll which parent. 1 through 4 is your father, 5 through 8 is your mother, 9 through 10 is both. So yeah, very awesome, very grim. Then they have this about your family status. You were in the knights, or you were a merchant family, or aristocrat, or adopted by a mage, all these type of things. So if you were a knight, it says you grew up knowing that your duty was to the emperor, and that all of your luxury was a reward for your eventual service. Starting gear, you get personal heraldry, which is a +1 to reputation. So this is going to give you, some of these are +2s. So some of these are going to give you big bonuses to your person that if you skip this step, you wouldn't get. And then it's going to move over to your most influential friend, which could be somebody at church, it could be a mage, a count, a highborn, all these type of things that are also going to give you some maybe a mask or some type of equipment to wear with you along your way. And then finally, they talk about siblings. And so most of the time, you're going to have siblings, and you actually want siblings in this game because you're going to die. Okay, so you're going to die in here. You need to have a sibling kind of already drawn up, because a sibling is going to be your second character, basically. So when you die, you're going to take over one of your siblings more than likely. Yeah, it tells you whether they're male or female, if they're younger or older, and their feelings about you. Like some of them want you dead. Some of your siblings, they like you, they look up to you, but some of them want you dead. And I thought that was kind of funny. They even mentioned that in here. they talk about siblings. If you die, we suggest that if your character dies and they have siblings, you pick up as any one of them. The GM can more easily find a way to fit your sibling into the party, usually via them finding out about their sibling's death. It also stands to reason that if your companions are nice, they'll be more than willing to give a sibling your old character's stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, this is my little brother. He's going to, take over your stuff. You're probably going to die. Have some siblings because you're going to be swapping into them, it sounds like. It talks about right here, since this is a world without resurrection, your character is 110% dead and won't be coming back unless someone uses necromancy to drag your consciousness back into your corpse for a few minutes. But you're 110% dead. You're not coming back. So yeah, that's how you run your part of your life path. And then they have kind of the extension of that is your life events. You kind of roll here and you talk about, whether you have fortune or misfortune, allies and enemies, and also your romance. So this is just like those ones we showed before. And so if you roll here and you get a 1 through 4, you're going to pick fortune or misfortune from this table. And it talks about you can actually wind up with an addiction. So then they talk about allies and enemies in the game as well. You roll it up real quick and you figure out whether they're going to be male or female, if they're going to be a bounty hunter, if it's a craftsman or something like that. It's going to talk about how you met. These are your friends of yours. And then how close you are, if you're acquaintances or close friends, where they come from, those type of things. Same thing with enemies, that you can just roll up an enemy real quick, and before it starts, you'll have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 enemies that you have listed that the GM can almost kind of pick from. And it talks about maybe it's an ex-friend or a lover or a childhood enemy. And it talks about the cause of it. So maybe you caused a curse or it was accused of illegal witchcraft. And so this is all giving the GM some ammunition for when they're creating the story later on to throw in some of your possible nemesis. It goes into the romance. Like you can talk about whether you had a romance or not. But it says here, romance isn't exactly uncommon in the world of The Witcher, but happy romance is. One-night stands and love affairs that end in death or depression are far more common. It's possible to have romance, but it's probably more likely going to be a one-night stand that ends badly. And then finally, you roll up your personal style. So what do you look like? D10, throw it out there for your clothing, and you're going to roll it once, and it'll tell you if you have traveling clothing or fancy clothing or traditional or utilitarian. And then your personality, whether you're secretive or violent or idealistic or stern or deceptive. So you can roll that up. Your hairstyle, whether it's long or short or bald or, you're high and tight or whatever, shaven sides or whatever. And then finally your affections, the things that you really like. If you're into rings and jewelry or tattoos or trinkets, maybe you're into furs, all that is right here for you, and you can roll it up really quick. I know when I'm explaining it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It would fly by really quickly just because you're rolling on these values. You don't have to read them all. Just roll, write down what you get, and move on. So that's pretty awesome.